There is new Fox polling on the debt limit showing that a majority of voters say raising it should go hand in hand with spending cuts. Power panel now, Charlie Hurt, opinion editor for the Washington Times, and radio show host Leslie Marshall, both Fox News contributors. Great to see you both. Charlie, House Financial Services Committee Chairman and GOP negotiator Patrick McHenry says this: the pressure's on, and an agreement is going to take some time, he says. Both Republican and Democratic lawmakers, they are skeptical of an accord. Conservatives are balking at word that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy may be willing to greenlight a deal which would raise the debt ceiling by several $1 trillion. Does that strike you as the right deal?
Well, I think the reason that a lot of conservatives are upset about this and a lot of Republicans are concerned about this is the idea that we're going to raise the debt ceiling by trillions of dollars and then and in exchange for that get a 1% cut in spending. The problem that we have here is spending. And the idea that, you have families all across America cutting their budgets by far more than 1%, either actively because they need to cut their spending or because through Joe Biden's inflation is forcing them to cut their spending by far more than 1%. The idea that we're going to, take out another credit card on the backs of the American people and in exchange for that cut spending by 1%, it's insane. And so I think that rightly so, conservatives are upset about it. But let's not forget, Republicans are the only people right now in Washington who have come up with a solution to raise the debt ceiling. Democrats aren't even at the table, and the White House isn't even at the table in terms of coming up with a proposal.
Leslie, I'm going to have you rebut that in just a second. I just first want to put up this new Fox polling on the economy under the president, and it's pretty dismal. Only 18% feel economic conditions for the nation are positive, 83% negative. And on the personal impact of the economy, 34% say positive, a majority say the opposite. It's never good when you can't pay your bills, just as a private citizen, but when our own country can't pay its bills, that's scary. And of course, you have to look at whoever's in the White House to blame or not. I don't know. I mean, who is to blame? And what do you make of this, Leslie?
Well, I don't think whether it's a Democrat or Republican, the president is solely to blame for almost any problem that we blame them for. But of course, the person at the top or the captain of the ship is going to get the blame. But, I find it interesting what Charlie just said about cuts. I never, ever hear GOP saying, you know what, don't pay us. We'll take a pay cut. As a matter of fact, I don't hear my fellow Democrats doing that either. Listen, Americans, I think, are sick of this. And what we are seeing in a reflection of these polls, not only more than 500 days away from the general election, so I'm not real worried, is they're buying into the doom and gloom of the headlines. The problem is this is deja vu. We come to the edge of the cliff. They do a stopgap measure. There is a debt ceiling increase. Kevin McCarthy knows he's going to do it. He's done it before. He thinks Americans and voters have very short-term memories, but there's audio, video, and signatures out there that prove otherwise, and that's what's going to happen this time around. The president doesn't need to be in the room to have a conversation with them, especially in this age of technology where so many of us meet online.
Okay, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Here's another story that is making headlines. Target basically losing more than $9 billion in market value in just 1 week. It's all about the backlash over pushing Pride Month merchandise for children. So this isn't about bathing suits, okay? This is now child's clothing. The retail giant said earlier this week it was removing some items from its stores and making other changes to its LGBTQ merch nationwide ahead of Pride Month. But the damage may be done. Now, I haven't stepped foot in a Target with my children since all of this hoopla has started, but it would be bad enough to try to explain to my children why women's bathing suits have extra room in the crotch. I mean, that's bad enough. Actually, Tyrus last night on Gutfeld, I was on with him, said that he was in a Target with his 9-year-old, and she saw it, and so explanation was, that's where you put your goggles. I thought that was brilliant. Anyway, honestly, children and LGBTQ, it's a very adult content, and now they're pushing it in stores. It makes me afraid to go shopping, Charlie.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I'm no expert on Target. I've never darkened the doorway of a Target. I don't need cheap junk from China, so I don't shop there in the first place. But that said, it is insane that these companies try to, in the name of inclusivity, try to push this stuff on kids. It's about indoctrination more than it is about even making a bottom line. And it's interesting when you look back. It used to be that companies spent millions and millions of dollars every year studying their customers and figuring out what their customers want. And they've thrown all that out the window, and they don't care anymore. They would rather lecture their customers and push creepy agenda items on their customers, and it just seems like an insane way to do business.
Leslie, I mean, I just saw flip-flops. I don't mind the flip-flops. My kids love rainbow colors. It's just, there's a line, you got to draw it.
Listen, I live in California. I had no problem with it. I have 2 teenagers, and if you guys think going into a Target and looking at rainbows is scary, I'll give you my 2 teens for a week, and you'll circle back and think otherwise. Here's the bottom line. There are children. We say children, children, children. LGBTQ people have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, children, and some of those children are part of the LGBTQ community as well. We have, and I'm not likening them all the same, but we do have St. Patty's Day merchandise at Target, African American History Month. I've seen female power. I've seen all this stuff. So I don't think Target is trying to put their political message out there. Obviously, they pulled the merchandise, so their message is we like money. They don't care about woke. They don't want to go broke. That's my new line. But I have to say, look, I would agree with Charlie to say you got to look at who your consumer is when you're a business owner, whether I agree with their decision or not to put it out or to pull it. But I don't understand the offense to the rainbows. Are people as offended to the alcohol aisle or to the aisle that has over-the-counter medication that kids can OD on as well? Come on, folks. We need to put it in perspective.
Yeah, I don't think it's the rainbows. I just think it's the message. I mean, I think, an alcohol section we've been used to, but I think it's just the trans thing that it explains to children who may not have a trans uncle or a gay sister. I have a gay sister, but I don't have to talk about sex with my children. They're children. And that does bring up a conversation about sex. And I think that is the problem in Target stores or in schools, quite frankly, talking about this kind of inappropriate topic. But anyway, Leslie Marshall, thank you, and Charlie Hurt, great to have you both. Thank you.